I know this is silly, but I got to ask, Jeff. Do you think that Lawler's staying power, because Lawler is really a unique case of a guy who stayed in the same territory pretty much his entire career and made great money the entire time. Now, some people would argue and say, well, that's because, he was part owner, and that's hard to argue, but it also worked. And the reason he was part owner is because it worked. And that's what I wanted to ask you about, because Lawler is not a guy who had a reputation for being a badass or a hooker or a shooter or somebody who could hurt you for real. What made Lawler so special was his ability. I hate to say it this way. He was a phenomenal actor. He was an incredible promo. He could talk them into the seats. I really do think that was the difference maker. And I would say that him on the microphone is, I mean, if you really look at just selling tickets, he's got to be on a lot of Mount Rushmores. But my question to you is, was it more Lawler's promo ability or the way he was booked in that he was this hometown hero babyface? Whether it was, I mean, because everybody came through there and he beat them all, or at least we framed it on TV like he got the better of these guys. Was it the fact that he was so protected from a wins and losses perspective, or his promo ability that really made him a mainstay for as long as he was?
Oh, I love a good old Conrad. It gets me to thinking, because I think I use the analogy I've used in the past. What makes a number one record? Is it the song or the singer?
I love when you do that.
And I just think you have to kind of end up landing there. And I just gave the reference that, how did my old man literally get paid for his content in the early 80s? Like, how did that happen? Well, it was a business deal. Well, when you kind of look at the history of the territory, we won't get into the Nick Goulas, Roy Welch, Jerry Jarrett breakup. But when my dad broke off and started running his own promotion, I just think he had the vision, the foresight, and his entire mentality was, and again, I'll go back to the business model is Lawler is my guy. And yes, he's a hometown. He loved it. Jerry wasn't a guy as a young man that said, hey, I want to go travel the world. No, Lawler was motivated by, being here long before he, he went to Atlanta and would go down to Florida. And I think he Puerto Rico shots here and there, but for the most part, he wanted to stay at home. But just kind of that Jerry Jarrett vision of, you're the top star and we're going to keep you protected because you're here. I don't want to depend on other talent for the livelihood. So, you can get into it. I know there's books written about it, but Lawler being a heel, and my dad and really Fargo and Tojo, top baby faces, they put Lawler over for a year or longer as this top heel. So he became ingrained in the DNA. But my dad would also be the first to tell you that and to the day he died, he truly believed. He's like, you can say Hogan's charisma or Dusty's charisma. You can go down a whole list. Stone Cold's, the lightning in a bottle and the persona and the character and the timing. And you can go on and on and on about box office attractions. But my old man firmly believed that Lawler was the greatest promo on creating revenue. That he he'd say, hey, man, get him in the right set of circumstances. He didn't really need the opponent because he drew a lot of money with guys that never drew a money before this day or after this day. It was all off of Lawler. But my old man thought that Lawler was the greatest promo to create revenue, and he always would lean into his artistic ability. Yes, Lawler is a great drawer and a painter and all that kind of stuff. But as far as painting the picture in a promo, creating that picture for the emotional attachment for the consumer at home to hear it and then go, you damn right, I'm going to watch Lawler kick ass, because it happened over and over and over and over. So I think he was protected, but he's an incredible talent. Also, you just can't really talk about the success of Lawler without going, okay, that TV relationship was rock solid and they never bumped us in a consistent time slot, or rarely. It was 90 minutes. It was live. It got great ratings. It was just the community in Memphis, large metropolitan area. Just there was a lot of layers. Dave Brown, Lance Russell. There was another thing also that you really look at. Talent would come in, and because Memphis, Louisville, Evansville, Nashville, those aren't really big areas. So the payoffs just by design are less than a New York City, a Philadelphia. So the talent that would come in, my old man also knew that, hey, man, guys aren't going to stay forever, and they're not going to want to stay forever. That's just the nature of the beast. So, a Lawler, a Dundee, I mean, hell, Dutch left here 100 times, and a bunch of other talent that was quote unquote mainstays. They were always somewhat in and out. Lawler was the guy that was consistent. And so I just think a little of everything, but at the very top of his drawing ability was his personality. He knew the business inside and out and knew exactly how to talk them into the building.
Let me ask you, let's get you in trouble a little bit. Do you think if Hulk Hogan were in Memphis in the Jerry Lawler spot, would it have worked?
No.
Ric Flair?
Nope.
John Cena?
Yep.
Roman Reigns?
Nope.
That's interesting. What about Stone Cold? Could Stone Cold have done it in Memphis?
I mean, yes, I think Stone Cold's because Steve sold. He understood you got to sell to, and I'm not saying Hogan and Flair. Look, I think going back to kind of what we're trying to get me in trouble. No, trying to focus on is that cadence of episodic week in and week out mindset. I just think it's a unique skill set. I really, really, really do. I've seen so many Cena promos that in the middle of it, I would kind of have like a flashback and say, damn, there's a lot of Lawler in that. Obviously not by design, but yeah, that's a good little word association or thought process we went through there.
It is because, I've really seriously been curious. Is it because Lawler was protected? To give an example respectfully, I don't think Roman Reigns talked a bunch of people into the seats. I mean, when he was the guy for years and years as a babyface, people weren't really with it. When they put him with Paul Heyman and the whole bloodline story, that's really what catapulted it. So Paul talked him into the seats, not taken away from Roman. He played his role, and man, they're just riding the biggest wave they've ever ridden. But I just think it's interesting when you think back about what made it work and why something wouldn't work.
Okay. You'll stay on the music analogy and have a little fun here?
Yeah.
Because we've talked offline too. And we'll use the bloodline. That quote unquote song that was written, and you had Sami Zayn, and I know I've beat this to death, but man, you take Sami and Paul out of that song, you got different chords, you got different instruments. It's not even close to the same, in my opinion. They put Roman, like any great promoter, and I'm talking about downtown Nashville, when you have the right label head and the right A&R guy and the right team, and they're doing all this, and they find this song that's over here and say, man, oh man, if I can get this in Garth Brooks' hands or Toby Keith's hands or whoever it may be, man, we're going to knock this out of the park. And that's it. So I just think Roman was the lead, the David Lee Roth, if you will, or whatever it is. He was the lead on it. And I mean, you're right. The whole, not just that whole bloodline, in a lot of ways, the whole promotion got lifted.
Yes.
And kudos to everyone involved in that, because the writers, that writing room, week after week after week, that would create just enough comedy and just enough uneasiness. I mean, you look at Jey Uso today, I gotta say, there's a lot of bloodline in that yeet that is perpetuated through the years. That and I don't want to lose my train of thought. I was going to say something there. I'm totally jumping. Conrad, we'll come back to it. Remind me to say what my thoughts are on all the territories dying, how that set up the Attitude Era. But anyway, on to this song and singer. I think the magic of Lawler is that he is not only a great front man, he's this will get some meat like Kid Rock. People don't realize how musically inclined he can play the drums, he can play the guitar, he can play the piano, So anyway, so Lawler can play every instrument. He can sing. He can actually write songs. He can produce songs. So man, when you do song or singer, not many guys are one-stop shops like the King. They're just not. And that's no disrespect to any other talent out there. But when you can do all of those things, not good, but great, that's why I think Lawler's staying power was so strong, and a smart guy. Like, I just think the two Jerrys were a very good duo in business. I don't know if you're an Elton John fan, but all the success he's had, and he's had his lyricist Bernie Taupin, and you just go, what? He don't write his stuff is successful? No, he's got a guy who writes it, and Elton puts the music to it, and you go, that's some magic. So anyway,